Moot morning, moot morning, moot morning, moot morning.
All right, well, hey, moot morning to
Good
everyone.
morning. Good morning, everyone.
Moot morning.
Good morning.
This is another installment in our Moot Court web episodes of Ask Questions of Former Mooters, also known as Moot Morning. And today we are joined by, of course, Assistant Coach Toby and a former mooter, Alicia Grant, and her daughter, a mooter in the making, Savannah. So Savannah and Alicia, moot morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So Alicia and Savannah, thank y'all for joining us this morning. And I wanted to ask you a few questions about your time on the Moot Court team. I think it's really good for folks that are interested in the team to kind of hear from those of you that have been through the process. And so let me start with a question just kind of generally about why you tried out for the team, because I hear stories, sometimes people at the last minute, they decide they want to try out. Others have wanted to do it for years. What's your story? Why did you decide that you wanted to go ahead and try out for the team?
You told me to. No, and all joking aside, I didn't want to do 1L Moot Court competition. I thought it was a waste of time. But then once I did it, the competitive side took over, and I had a lot of fun, and we ended up continuing to advance. And so at that point, then I decided to try out for the team.
How'd your tryout experience go?
It was a really good one. It was pretty much just doing exactly what I did for the 1L tryout. And at that point, I had already talked to some of your former mooters who had told me that trying out for the team was a good decision.
Yeah, and you obviously had a lot of success on the team. You were on the team as a 2L. You continued on the team. You were invited back as a 3L. Talk just a little bit about, those experiences. What did it mean to you to be part of the team? And do you think that was helpful to you as you went into your practice?
Absolutely. Doing Moot Court was definitely one of the best decisions I made as a law student. It's something that I wasn't aware of before attending law school. I was hesitant to do it because I had Savannah, and she also has an older brother, KG, so I thought it would be hard to do law school and Moot Court with two kids. But again, it was one of the best decisions I made, and definitely prepared me for the practice of law. Because once you start practicing, it's not your time is what it is. It's not going to change. And so juggling kids, Moot Court, journal, and all of that prepared me for the practice of law.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned.
And it got you used to mommy being practicing a lot.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Law Journal also. I wanted to ask you about that, Alicia. Sometimes folks are worried that they're doing Law Journal, they may have children, they may have other personal commitments or job commitments. Is it possible to do Moot Court and also have all these other commitments as part of your life?
Yes. So I knew that I wanted to do Moot Court and journal. The adjustments that I made to make it possible for me is I took 9 hours in the fall semesters as a 2L. Because I knew that I wanted to write a journal piece that would be published. At that time, I was also a judicial intern at the Fifth Circuit of Appeals, and I wanted to get the most out of that as well. So I just tailored back my course load a little bit and then made it up during the summer. So that way I could get everything that I wanted accomplished, and it worked out. I got published by the journal. The Judge Prado wrote me recommendation letters for my judicial clerkships and was able to do Moot Court successfully.
Yeah, and of course, you figured out a way to do it by reducing your hours. I think other students are also able to maintain, 12 hours or so and still do Moot Court. Did you have anyone that you were, associated with back in law school that was doing maybe a fuller load, but you have all of the outside commitments that you had?
Yes. I think I'm glad you raised that, because I think I was the exception that I took a lighter load. Part of that also was, again, as I mentioned, the judicial internship. I ended up working a lot more hours than was required because I really wanted to take full advantage of being in judges' chambers. So for me, that's another factor is why I scaled back. But I know others that did it successfully and didn't adjust their course load or take courses during the summer. And this one, as quiet as she looks, is a handful. So.
So you talked a little bit about your job, or at least coming out of law school and being able to find employment. Where are you currently working?
I work at Norton Rose Fulbright. I am a litigator and work in a couple different practice groups, but definitely use the skills that I learned in Moot Court pretty much every day with the briefing and on oral arguments. Use a lot of the Ricky rules, and it's worked out. So,
well, I'm glad to hear that. One of the questions that does come up is this idea that if you do Moot Court, you're really going to be limited to being an appellate attorney. And you mentioned that you're a litigator. What do you think about that? I mean, do you feel like there are limitations that are placed on you because you chose Moot Court over maybe mock trial or something else that might have been out there for you?
No. So I'm trying to think. A small percentage of what I do right now is at the appellate level. Most everything is at the trial court level. I think Moot Court definitely prepared me more in that I was able, so the skill sets, for example, tailoring down your argument, realizing what is important to the judges, what translates to trial court level. For example, the skills of like reading the judges in Moot Court, now I'm reading the judge on the bench, or if it's a jury trial, I'm reading all the jurors to kind of see what they're interested in and pick up on what's important to them. So it definitely translates. I think the only thing that I had to touch up on was the rules of evidence. And I think every trial litigator will tell you that they have a cheat sheet anyways.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. Obviously, you're working at a great firm. You came out of law school with a tremendous resume. Was it important that Moot Court was part of that resume? Did that make any difference in terms of your interviews or anything like that?
It did. So I clerked for a bankruptcy judge in the Western District of Texas. And one of the factors that he looks at in selecting his clerks is whether they've done Moot Court. So that was definitely something that played a role in him deciding whether to interview me. And then with other corporations that I interviewed, for example, Shell and Toyota, one of the Toyota in-house counsels described it as glitter on the resume.
Wow. Well, that sounds good to me.
Yeah. She's really excited now about glitter.
So, Alicia, if you were talking to Alicia Grant, who was thinking about whether or not to try out for the Moot Court team, what would you tell Alicia?
That to do it, because it will be the best decision that I would make in law school, and both tangible and intangible benefits to that. Tangible being it's definitely prepared me for litigation. I'm a better brief writer because of it. I feel like I'm ahead of my peers because of the time that I've spent in Moot Court. And also out of it, some of my best friends are from Moot Court. Like I can't imagine what the practice of the law would be like without them. I mean, to this day, I still text them with questions and bounce ideas off each other. Savannah's going to be a flower girl for one of them.
No, that's so sweet.
We have, well, Assistant Coach Covey, do you have any questions, anything you want to ask Alicia or Savannah?
Actually, I think Alicia can answer something that a lot of people won't be able to, with some mooters that do have a family at home that aren't, young single students, like straight out of undergrad trying out for a team, or how practices were for you having a family at home, I think is something that maybe you can answer that not everybody will be able to.
Yeah, for me, it worked out perfectly because we did a lot of the practices on evenings or weekends, and Ricky was pretty flexible with tailoring the schedules, and my teammates kind of deferred to me what works with you and your family and kind of worked around my schedule, so I appreciate them kind of lending to what works for me. Also, there's a lot of stuff that I could do independently as far as practicing. I don't know how many moot court arguments Savannah sat and judged. Her favorite thing to do is ring a bell every time I say so.
Oh my goodness.
So it definitely works out, and I think even from them it worked out because, for example, she had to give a presentation for a science fair, and she kind of.
Yes.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So what I did is I made.
It was a presentation. You had to talk for 3 minutes, remember?
I did, and I was super scared.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost my cards.
But it still went well.
Yes.
Because you have your mommy's moot court skills.
We're getting there, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's in the blood.
But she just kind of used what she had seen from me practicing, and so like she would practice by herself, and she'd be like, "Oh man, I said I can't say
Oh.
What did you get on that? You got an A on it, right?
Yes.
Good for you, Savannah.
Yeah, congratulations, Savannah. Well, Alicia and Savannah, thank y'all so much for taking a little time this morning to be part of this. Alicia, you're always willing to help out, even, several years out of school. And it was great having you on the team, and it's always good to see you. So please take care, and thanks a lot. And of course, Moot Morning.
Moot morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.